Hello everyone, welcome you all to AIT Pathsala. Here in this session, we will look at how to find the biggest number in an array. Before moving ahead, let me clarify you one thing. I have not yet covered array in this playlist, but I will cover array in upcoming sessions. So if some of you who do not have a basic understanding of array, you can skip this session and come back later after studying array. So you can see this is a array. But here we will not use iteration. Instead, we use recursion. So our function in Python will look something like this. Here we created a function which takes an array as a parameter and the size of the array. The first condition here is if the array size is 1, then we return the first element of the array. Otherwise, if that's not the case, then we compare the current element value, which is the last element, with the value that is returned from the same function with n minus 1. To make it clear, let's explain this with a sample array which consists of 4 elements. So here we have an array A which has 4 elements. So the size of the array is 4. So if we write our function to find the biggest number in an array, it will be something like this. If we call this function by passing A and 4 as a parameter, it will go to the first condition over here and checks if n equal to 1. We see that n is not equal to 1. So it will continue to the next condition over here. Here it will compare the last element in our array, that is 7, with the value that is returning from the same function with n minus 1. That is 4 minus 1 is equal to 3. So it means that this function over here calls itself with a different parameter, which is the same array, and n will be 3 because 4 minus 1 is 3. So in this case, this function also will go over here and checks if n is equal to 1. We see that n is not equal to 1, n is 3 here. So it will continue to the next condition over here. Here it will compare the second last element with the value that is returning from the same function with n minus 1. That is 3 minus 1 is 2. So it means that this function over here calls itself with a different parameter, which is the same array, and n will be 2. So it will continue like this. Then again, this function over here goes here and checks the condition over here. We see that n is not equal to 1, n is equal to 2 here. Then it will call itself with 2 minus 1. So this is going to be like this. So we are continuing this until we reach where n is equal to 1. So in this case, this part of the code will run and it will return the first element from the array. So in our case, the first element is 11. So this is returning 11. So as you see, we have a return value from this function. We can continue to this function over here. So basically what we are doing here, we are comparing this value, the return value from this function, with the value from the array which has an index of 1. Because here we will take 2 minus 1 is equal to 1. So the return value from this function would be something like this. Maximum of 4 comma 11, this 4 and 11. So the value of a1 here is, the value of a1 here is 4. We can get from here. And we are comparing this with 11. So on comparing 11 with 4, the maximum value between these two is 11. So I am getting 11 over here. So if you have the return value from this function, we can continue to this function over here. So the return value from this function will be compared with a of 3 minus 2. This 11 is a return value from this function, and we are comparing this 11 with a of 3 minus 1, that is a2. And what is my a2? a2 is my 12 here. So when we are comparing this 12 with 11, we will get 12 here. So here, if we have a return value from this function, which is 12 in our case, we can go here to this function. So in this function, we will compare this 12 with a3, which is 7 in our case. Because here 4 minus 1 is 3. So a3 is 7. So I am comparing this 7 with 12. You can see. So, and the maximum value between 7 and 12 is 12. Finally, my return value is 12. This is how recursive function works. Hopefully, with this simple example, you understand the logic behind the recursive calls. See you in the next session. Keep learning, keep smiling.